very sad. I mean, there's a huge void in my heart and soul that he's gone, and you know, it's to this day it's still kind of hard to grasp that. And I know everybody can feel that too. You know, people that were really close with him and you know really loved him. It hurts, you know, but we just got to keep pushing. You know, me and him, you know, we were best friends. Actually, we've surpassed that. We were brothers. You know, I consider him family. You know, he's part of me. I was part of him. We just clicked very well together. We, like, I guess, you know, Forrest Gump, you know, peas and carrots. We were, like, you know, we were just. He was my other half. You know, he was my heart, and I love that guy very much. We were pretty much always together. His family knows that. He was at my house, you know, he'd be on the couch, shoes off, watching TV, and we would just sit there for hours and literally do nothing and watch TV and make fun of each other, and that's just how me and him were. It was like we just got each other. Like, I can't explain it. I mean, it's just, we laughed nonstop all the time. It was always a good time with Matt. It was just, he's irreplaceable, and it really hurts my soul that he's gone. I would share text messages and stuff like that with you guys, but if you know me and Matt, it wouldn't be appropriate at all to share any of that stuff with you guys. We would just, from the moment we woke up, it would just be nonstop insults, back and forth to each other, you know, but that's just how we talked to each other. That's how we showed each other that we cared, you know, like brothers would do. They'd pick on each other. But I mean, if you were a stranger looking in and you heard me and him talk, you'd be like, are these guys gonna fight, or like what's going on? But these guys, I mean, we were nuts, I guess, I don't know. I mean, I can still hear his laugh, and you know, and see his smile. Actually, there was a recording I had. Actually, it was a little bit before he passed. Well, I'm not gonna go into details, but he was at you know, me and my girlfriend's house, and he was on the couch, and you know, he had some, you know, some gas, and but he would do that, and he would blame it on me, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna tell Jill that you're funking up her couch, and he's like, she won't believe you. He's like, I'll just say that, you know, it's nonsense and you did it. And of course she would believe that because, you know, it's me, so, you know. But I recorded him, that whole conversation. And at the end, he's like, are you recording this? I was like, yeah, I got it, you know. So that was evidence for me to be like, yo, listen, this is what he was doing all day on the couch. But I don't know, you know, it's, you know, we would often talk about, you know, like winning the lottery and what we do with the money and all this stuff. But then we realized that would never ever happen. So we had a plan to become, it's stupid, train riding hobos. So we would just, you know, ride on trains around the country. We had names picked out. I was Johnny Cakes and Matt was Ricky Switchblade. His name was way better than mine, but a lot of memories of that guy. I just replay him over and over. It just hurts that I can't make new ones with him, you know. So he was a great person. He was very funny, smart, and someone that you wanted on your side. I'm just glad I got to spend the amount of time with him that I did. You know, like I said, 15 plus years. He was my brother, you know. I can't replace that. I mean, for that, knowing him, I'm truly blessed. You know, I love his family, great people. You know, for everybody gathered here today to remember Matt, just know that, you know, he's with us, and he's always watching over us. Love you, Matt.
Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it very much. I know Matt would appreciate it. You heard some great people speak about Matt. And you're going to hear some of the same things from me because that's who Matt was. But I thought it was important to tell Matt's sort of life story. I mean, how do you tell it in 15 minutes when he was almost 33 years old when he died? But I'm going to do my best to at least give you an essence of who Matt was. You've already got some of it. But I think from the perspective of his mother and father, it's important to tell that story. Matthew Marcolo was born on March 5th, 1982 at St. Francis Hospital in Charleston, South Carolina. Matt was the firstborn of identical twin boys. Matt was a little on the light side, at about 4 pounds, 5 ounces, but he made up for it. He grew up, didn't he, Cindy? 6'5", 250, size 14 shoe. It's a pretty big guy. Amazing. After his birth at St. Francis, he was immediately transferred to the neonatal intensive care unit at the Medical University of South Carolina, and he spent his first 3 weeks there. And of course, Barb and I couldn't wait to get him home. Barb had a pretty tough pregnancy and had been in the hospital for 6 weeks, so we were anxious to get our family back together. And finally, they released him, and here he was living in Hampton, South Carolina. Of course, his sisters doted on him. We doted on him. And the thing about living in a small rural town in South Carolina, there was about 1,500 people, and I think all 1,500 visited our house during that tough period. So to the people of Hampton, South Carolina, will always be indebted to you. Now, it was obvious, that Matt was going to have his fun with Barb. He didn't sleep through the night until he was 18 months old. We just blamed that on him wanting to be close to Barb. There was an issue we knew we were going to have to deal with pretty quickly after Matt was born. He was born with strabismus, which is crossed eyes. And this is a little story I just have to tell because it was probably the most vivid story of me laughing at Matt and him wondering if I'd lost my mind. But at the age of about 9 months, they decided, well, we'll try and treat his crossed eyes with a procedure where they put his glasses on in a patch. So Barb took off for Charleston, which wasn't an easy trek, about 70 miles away. Went to the pediatrician one day. He came home and they had his glasses and his patch. And of course, I was at work that day, and I walked in the house, and here's Matt sitting in his hula coop. You all remember hula coops? You know, the round thing with the wheels on them? Button-down shirt, cardigan sweater, corduroy pants, boat shoes, Barb, dress him up for the dock, and these thick horn-rimmed glasses with a patch. We looked like Professor Matt getting ready to go teach his last class of the afternoon. Oh, I fell down laughing. And I know at that age, Matt was looking at me thinking, the old man's lost it. What is he laughing at? Well, the reason I mention that is laughter and smiling was one of Matt's great traits. And that wasn't the first laugh that I'd have with Matt. I mean, there's so many memories of us laughing together, either teasing his sisters, teasing his mother, teasing his friends, horsing around, just having good times. Matt loved to laugh. He loved to smile. He loved a good prank, particularly if it involved his 2 sisters. Of course, there's always a lot of love between those 3. Matt and I shared the same sense of humor that nobody else in the family has seen together. I mean, we would just howl at the craziest movies, TV shows. Anybody watch Tosh.0? I mean, 3 girls in the house are going, these 2 are nuts. We'd make up crazy words to songs, the whole deal. But it was just the way Matt and I, it was just something we bonded together, and I'll always cherish those memories, and I'll miss them. When he was 1 1/2, we moved from South Carolina to here, McKenna Square. And we were happy to be in the area. Matt had some issues that had to be dealt with, some things that had to be monitored, and we were in a great area of the country to get the medical help that he needed. Matt went on to Unionville Elementary, where he thrived. He did very well in school, seemed to love his teachers, got along well, and became very close to some of his best buddies that you saw some of them today. Tracy, John, Lonnie, Kelly, way too many to mention. That was the neighborhood gang. We'll get into the other gang later. That group was inseparable, spent most of their waking hours together. The problem was, there were a lot of girls. Not that that's a problem. For Matt, that was a problem. I mean, he was dominated by girls. Girls in the neighborhood, girls in the house. I mean, he just couldn't get away from the girls. So it was at that point in his life, we decided Matt, you know, was getting a little interested in the ladies. I mean, how could he? His sisters put the toilet seat down. You're not wearing that to school. That doesn't match. That clashes. His mother laying his clothes out. Me beating manners into his head. I mean, the poor kid never had a chance. But it all paid off. By the time he was in his teens, it was plain to see his greatest attribute as a human and a young man had become obvious. Matt was passionate. He was kind. He always felt bad for people with afflictions or people that were in need of help. And he was always there to help them. That was just Matt. He was kind. I don't think there was a mean bone in Matt's body, except when he was talking to Joe. You'd really have to rile him up to get him mad. And a smile. God, he had a smile. Just ask the 100 or so people who sent emails and private messages the day after his death what they remember most about him. And without a doubt, everyone that we read said it was his smile. And Matt was very sensitive. He was a sensitive soul. He was sensitive to everything. He was aware of people's feelings, and he was sensitive to his treatment by other people, as he was sensitive to the way he treated other people. And his courage, what Matt faced for wholly one half of his life, took true courage. Not many of us could do what he had to do to live each day. Matt was kind and compassionate and had great manners, and how he treated other people was very important. His compassion and concern for well-being of others led to a calling, and that calling was while still in high school. Matt became an emergency medical technician and also became a member of the Longwood Fire Company. And there's another little story here, bear with me. One night, it was a Friday evening, I think Barb and I were home. We were just having a bite to eat, and then we had the TV on, and Channel 6 was flying a helicopter over this burning house in Centerville, a 3-story house, and they were showing pictures of it. And there were 3 guys up on the roof of this house, and they were cutting relief holes in the roof to let the smoke and the heat out. So Barb looked at me and said, "I wonder where Matt is." And I said, "Well, he's probably on the fire call. That's probably where he is." And that's where he was. He walked in the house a few hours later, soot all over his face, except for where his SCBA mask, his breathing apparatus mask was. And Lou, his buddy, who was up on that roof with him, that was 2 of those guys, were Matt and Lou, cutting holes in the roof. Barb almost passed out. I didn't say, whatever. But that's who Matt was. That's what he lived to do. And in addition to the fire company, he played sports. He played baseball as a youngster. He was a pretty good pitcher until he beamed somebody and decided he didn't want to pitch anymore. But that was Matt. He was sensitive to that. He didn't want to hurt anybody, so he just didn't do it. Enjoyed lacrosse. He played lacrosse in the middle school team. Loved snowboarding, skateboarding, but what he really loved was golf. It really suited his personality. It was just him. There was nobody pushing him. He didn't have to hit anybody. He wasn't aggressive. And that was Matt. And we started to play here in Kennett Square at the club in our father-son days at the club. Then we moved to Ohio. And Matt got a job at the local golf course where he played for nothing, had full privileges to the range, and he got really good at it. And the only reason I mention this is because one of the thrills of Matt's life was he got to spend almost an entire day with Fluff Cowan. Fluff at the time was Tiger Woods' caddy, and Fluff at the time was living in Columbus, and one of his best friends was the pro at the club that Matt worked at. So that was just, that was really something for Matt. When Matt was 16 and a sophomore in high school, we moved back to Kennett Square, and Matt was reunited with many friends. Joe, you met, Lou, I mentioned, Jody, Pat, Tracy. I just can't remember anybody I forgot, I'm sorry. I go on for a list of probably 50 people. Too many to mention. Although he left behind his friends in Ohio, he was thrilled to be back with his close friends here and ready to get on with his life and finish high school years at Unionville. Matt went on to work as an EMT, mainly in the transport business for Keystone Transport. Matt had a 6-year career with Keystone, and as we learned from his management and co-workers, he was thought of very highly and was a valuable member of their transport team and survived about 10 layoffs. Who Matt was as a person really came through in his career choice. After high school, Matt met the love of his life, Johnny Davidson. They seemed to have one of those relationships where they anticipated each other's moves and knew what the other was thinking. Matt and Johnny were together for 9 years and truly joined at the hip. So after 9 years, they decided, let's have a child, which to their surprise and everyone else's turned out to be twins. Identical twin boys, surprise, surprise. That's what happens sometimes. It did complicate things a little bit. The boys were born April 17, 2013, after a difficult pregnancy, which is not unusual for twin pregnancies. Silas and Gavin were brought into this world on that day and spent a few weeks in the neonatal intensive care unit at Chester County Hospital. Tragically, 2 months after the boys were born, Johnny passed away. Matt loved Johnny deeply and was lost without her. Matt was absolutely devastated, and it would take fully a year for him to finally start to get through this tragic loss. Matt was left as a single father, and at the time, not in the best frame of mind to raise 2 babies. With courage and selflessness that is to be admired, he decided that the best course for Silas and Gavin was to be adopted by a loving family who had the resources to raise these 2 lovely boys. You saw the boys earlier. They came up with our other 4 grandchildren. They were the 2 blondies, we'll call them. Today their names are Jackson and Ryan, and they've been blessed with a wonderful mother and father who hopefully most of you have met or will meet today, Eileen and Ed Bennett, who love them and will raise them to be great grown men. We couldn't be happier to still be part of the board.